girls and boys, they were not supposed to go to the army.
Right.
But I, much against my parents, joined the army. I could not join as a MBBS student. I joined as a nursing student. Nurses are not allowed to get married. Once they get married, they have to leave the army.
So your father-in-law was a source of inspiration for you to get into elderly care.
You see, main thing is counseling.
Okay.
His confidence, because what we see, lot of people, they are losing confidence. It was so much pathetic, I would say. The patients are dying in the hospital. There is no even water. The amount of money in the hospital were charging, and patients who we were looking after at home, they were okay.
Hello viewers, today we have a very special guest with us, somebody who started this industry way back in 1984. I believe she is truly a source of inspiration, and today we will get the opportunity to look into her life and understand that what does it take to be successful into caregiving industry. Let's welcome her. Welcome Nirmal ji to the show. Thank you so much for taking out time to talk to us. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Mohanji. I'm very happy that you are here today.
Pleasure is all mine. तो मैं समझना चाहूँगा कि आपकी ज़िंदगी की शुरुआत कहाँ से हुई, आपकी जो बहुत ही अर्ली डेज थे, आपकी बर्थ, आपकी जो अर्ली ब्रिंगिंग अप थी और जो एजुकेशन थी, ये सब दिल्ली से ही है?
मेरी एजुकेशन दिल्ली से ही है. I am being born and brought up from Delhi, and that too from old Delhi, Kuchapatira. I was studying, and I had joined the medical college, but soon after I joined the college, 1965 war broke down.
Oh, okay.
And at that time I was all fascinated to join the army, for which my family was much against, since I come from a Agarwal family.
Okay.
No, not the boys, even the girls and boys, they were not supposed to go to the army.
Right.
But I, much against my parents, joined the army. I could not join as a MBBS student. I joined as a nursing student.
Okay, all right.
Yes, I left my medical college and joined the nursing. I passed out there, got my degree from there. Then I was started working in the army.
All right.
I saw two wars, 65 and 71. I was mentioned in dispatches.
Okay.
Yes.
So, how was it serving as a nurse during those two wars? And
it was a wonderful experience. I think in civil life I could not have seen those things. The way we used to receive in 65 Jawans, it was pathetic to see them. But at the same time, when we used to receive the POW, they were much against. They would like to die, but they would not accept the treatment.
The prisoners of war would not accept the treatment.
No, not at all.
They would be more than happy to die rather than getting treated.
Yes.
Oh.
But when we used to receive casualties, it was just heartbreaking. And serving them, it was pleasure.
So where were you stationed at that point in time?
During the 65 war, I was in Lucknow.
Okay.
And during the 71 war, I was in Udhampur.
Udhampur. Okay. All right. And during the service with the armed forces, you met your husband at that point in time?
I met him in 71.
Okay.
In Udhampur.
All right.
Yeah. And soon after the war, we decided to get married.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I left. Those days, the nurses were not allowed to get married.
Oh.
Once they get married, they have to leave the army.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So those days, if you are serving as a nurse in the armed forces, then you can't marry.
Yes.
And if you are marrying, then you have to leave your job.
Army.
That's a big decision.
That's what.
Then how do you go about taking that decision, and was it easy to leave the job? And
No, it was not difficult to leave the job. I got married. I produced the marriage certificate. My husband was very good, and I left the army and joined him.
And post that, when did you decide that you want to get into the elderly care, services? When was that you decided that you want to start something like this?
That was then my father-in-law, who was a member of parliament. He had a brain stroke.
Okay.
He had a brain stroke, and then, though we were in the army, I was with my husband, but we had to look after Baba somehow or other. And then we had two male nurses who used to come and look after him. Looking at them whole day with him, I felt it is something a very good job. And we did. My husband took premature retirement 1981.
Okay.
81, we came to Delhi. He passed away in 80. Since then times I had decided that I must do something for society.
Wow. So your father-in-law was a source of inspiration for you
Yes.
to get into elderly care. So then, how did it all happen? So what was the first step that you took to start this?
Gangaram Hospital went on strike.
Okay.
At that time, there were no nurses bureau in whole of Delhi.
This was which year?
In 1984.
84.
Yes.
Okay.
And there was
This
no
is
bureau.
during the Sikh riots?
Yes. There was no bureaus in the army, and there used to be one very leading doctor, K.C. Mahajan.
Mm-hmm.
He was well known to my Nana,
Mm-hmm.
who was a barrister in Meerut.
Right.
They used to go and see. Meerut has a Nauchandi Mela.
Yes.
Yes.
The famous infamous
Yes.
Nauchandi Mela.
Yes.
Yes.
So he asked my Nana, and my Nana said, my granddaughter is there and she's doing nothing. She's an army officer's wife. She's a well trained nurse. She was commissioned in, I was commissioned in the Indian Army.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So why don't you ask her? He approached me. I was willing to do it. I did it for 2 months. And then I decided this is a very good thing for me to look after the sick people who needs me,
Right.
who need people, whom I can guide them
Mm-hmm.
to look after people.
Right.
And then I started.
Okay.
And I have not looked back.
Right. Right. So, what all was needed initially at that point in time to start the whole setup?
I needed a small little office space
Mhm.
which was available in my own house. This
Mhm.
is my own house.
Mm-hmm.
And then I needed people to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
I gathered people who needed work, who needed money. I persuaded them. It took me little time for
Mhm.
them to work, but then I managed.
At that point in time, around 84, 85, 86, was there a lot of demand for, people like, nurses or, caretakers?
There were demand, but they did not know how to get it.
Okay. So the demand existed in the houses,
Yes.
but they didn't know who to approach.
Who to approach.
Okay.
Like they were, new mothers.
Right.
At the age of 24, 23, they did not know how to look after baby.
Right.
Yet they are working.
Right.
They needed someone.
Right. Right.
So they approached me and I helped them down.
Right.
They were old people.
Right.
There's no one to look after them.
Mm.
They're lying. There are people like you could say cancer people.
Mm-hmm.
Now they know our end is coming to us very fast.
Right.
They were very depressed.
Right.
They did not know what life is.
Mm.
So we went for counseling. I took people with me, motivated them.
Right.
There is life. Whatever life you have, live well.
Right. Right.
Have some faith in God. Have willpower.
Correct. So when you were looking for the people to service your customers, were these people skilled? Were these people trained? Or you had to train them, you had to skill them?
No, nurses I used to get them trained from the
Okay.
hospital.
All right.
They all were degree holder.
Okay.
But paramedical staff like attendants,
Correct.
male and female, they were not.
Right.
For them, I used to take classes in my own house
Right.
and I used to teach them.
So what were the typical skill sets that were required to be, great attendant?
Skill is required. You see, main thing was you have to be passionate with the
Mm.
patient.
Right.
You can't lose your temper.
Correct.
There are old people, for one thing, they'll keep repeating it.
Correct.
You have to have patience. Don't
Right.
get annoyed
Right.
with them.
Right.
Because they need someone who feels good with them.
Correct.
Feel as though you are at that stage.
Correct. A good listener.
Good listener and get confidence. Then only you will be able to look after them.
Correct. Correct. So you need to be compassionate. You need to be a good listener.
Yes.
Or you need to be able to understand
Correct.
the needs of the elderly people.
Yes, definitely.
So it's not just about giving the physical help to these people, but I think it's a lot about mentally engaging with them.
Mentally, yes.
Yeah, giving them a
Like
lot of.
people, people did not know they are Alzheimer patients. All the time they're shaking.
Right.
They lose their balance. Now you need, and I tell you, like people who are educated enough, they don't want you to hold their hand and walk.
Correct.
They feel, nothing doing. I will know. You have to motivate them.
Correct.
So you have to tell your staff.
So there's a lot of counseling.
Counseling is required.
Required.
And then there are boys who don't want to do it. Like you see elderly people, they do susu potty in the bed. They don't want to do it. Naturally, it's not a very
Nobody
pleasant,
wants to do it, yeah.
Not very pleasant. But then we used to tell boys, think he's your father.
Right.
Think she's your mother.
Right.
Hasn't she done it for you?
Yeah.
So you better do it for them.
Right.
So it takes little time to motivate them, but then they were getting money out of it.
Right.
So they need it.
Correct. Correct. So if we look at the trend from 84, 85 to 2023, we are, sitting today. I'm sure that there's, the trend is growing by every single day.
Single day, I said too much it has grown. Too much. Every single house you will find somebody gets little fever. Mrs. Mukherjee, yes, what happened? Send somebody quickly. What happened? She got fever or he got fever. Now no one is there to look after because they are nuclear families.
Correct.
Everybody's gone to work.
Correct.
They need somebody.
Right. There are lots of viewers of this channel who are young children and they are aspiring to be elderly caregivers or elderly caretakers. And in today's times, thankfully, there are many institutes which are training you to be, becoming one. If I have to ask you, what are some of the essential competencies or skill sets that you believe are required to be successful in this career?
From my point of view, I do get sometimes boys, especially boys, who are even graduate.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have job, but they need money for day to day. They even willing to do this work. And I insist, no, I'm not recruiting you in my organization because since you are more educated, you may not deliver
what is required,
which I want. So I feel a boy or a girl who is just 12th pass, who understand. If you explain it to them, if you teach them, this is the way you do it. And they are ready to accept all these things.
Right.
It's more level.
Correct.
And they earn good amount of money.
Good amount of money. So what are the kind of salaries that they can expect in this career?
Between 15 to 20,000 rupees.
As a start.
Yes.
That's a very good money to
very
start
good
with.
Money.
Very
That's
good
why, when boys come, Auntie, I've done my graduation. Can you give me some work? Maybe 2 days. I'll get 2 days money. I say, no, beta, I'm sorry. I will not give you. I said, why? I said, beta, you are graduate. Because you will not like a patient, suddenly he has fallen sick, he's vomiting. You will run away. What am I going to do?
Right.
But I don't want you to run away. I don't want my patient to feel bad or my elder care person to feel bad. I want your love and affection. It's okay.
Right.
You have done it, it's okay.
Right.
We get someone to clean it. You be comforting.
So what are the typical tasks required to be performed when you are, taking care of an elderly person?
See, main thing is counseling.
Okay.
His confidence. Because what we see, lot of people, they're losing confidence. Not right now, but you can say around 5 years back. They used to think they are old. Now no one will look after them. They have given their property, they have given their asset to their children. They are not. But not now. Now they want people to come and look after them. and they will pay the money.
They're willing to pay the money.
They are willing to pay
provided they are taken care of very well.
Yes, yes. Now they are willing.
So again, coming back to this question, so the most important task that needs to be performed will be physically being taken care of, mentally being counseled.
Yes.
Do they also need to have the first aid information in case it's required?
Definitely.
Okay.
Like they must know. That's why we want little education. Suppose suddenly, a old man or a old lady fell down.
Correct.
They need little oxygen.
Correct.
They can give mouth to mouth respiration to them. They can survive them.
Right.
So we want people to little education.
So how long is that training that they need to go through for first aid? To be provided.
I think it's 3 to 6 months training. The first aid training centers are there.
There.
Yes.
Okay.
We send them to there.
Okay.
The centers, they get their training and then they come.
So they show their certificates to you?
They show their certificate to us.
All right.
And then we take them.
And then you engage with them. All right. So currently, for example, if I have to ask you, how many customers on an average you serve in a month? Any number, So, see, the idea to ask you that question is that there would be a lot of children, in smaller cities or, maybe in a bigger cities as well, who are planning to start something like this. And, you will be a great source of inspiration to, take a peek into your life and see that, how successfully you have done it from 1984 onwards till 2023. And, it will give them a very clear idea on the kind of business that they can expect. And then they can, go wholeheartedly into, this career.
We get around 30 to 40 calls.
30 to 40 calls a month.
Yes.
That's a very big number. Yeah.
And it is only recently it is lessened.
Okay, earlier there were more?
More than 100.
More than 100?
Yeah.
This is, you're talking about pre-COVID?
Before pre-COVID, though, we had no time at all.
Okay.
No time.
So it was the peak time for you.
Peak time we were bad during COVID time because,
sure.
it was so much pathetic, I would say. The patients are dying in the hospital. There is no even water. The amount of money the hospital was charging.
Right.
And patients who we were looking after at home, they were okay. Because hospital, they were not allowed. No relation was allowed.
Right.
Nobody knew what is happening inside.
Correct. So all of a sudden in COVID, the demand was surging.
Before that also. Oh yes. Earlier it was too much. It's only because there are a lot of people who have opened out this.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you are saying that a lot of service providers are there in the industry now.
The hospital itself.
Okay. So hospitals have also started this
as
a venture.
It's a money making.
It's a money making.
It's a money making. Like Max has started their own.
Okay.
Max and they do not allow outsiders. Only thing when patient comes out, they will say,
then you can
discontinue.
Engage.
No, we will not. They say you discontinue now, we are going to the private sector.
Okay.
So they come. You see, what you will understand, an office, to run an office by somebody and you run it yourself is entirely a different thing.
Entirely different thing.
I had 2 ambulances.
Okay.
I had 2 ambulances which I used to run and my husband used to help me. Before Max ambulance reaches there, our ambulance used to be there and people used to depend on us, not on Max or Apollo.
So if I have to ask you what kind of investment that went into this business?
No investment, I would say.
No?
No, except that we had ambulances.
That is an investment?
It's okay.
Oh, right.
Not much.
Not much. But then a small office, that's an investment.
Small office, yes.
Somebody in the
office and office bearers.
Yeah.
That you have to have.
Correct. Yeah.
Like you need to have a manager.
Correct.
You have to have assistant. You have to have boys on the bike to go and drop them easily and bring them back sometime if it gets night or something.
Right.
That's
So what's advisable if I have to ask you that somebody who is really, elderly living alone in a house, is it advisable that he or she should move into an old age home or, he or she is at home and somebody is there to take care of them? What's more advisable or what's more preferred by the people in this city or in the country?
Recently, the trend is changing. They do not want to take any responsibility. The old people, the maid is coming to clean. But I would prefer, if you're going to old age home also, then whatever food they give you have to eat.
Right.
Okay, whatever room they give you, you have to. There also you have to keep your private stuff. They don't give you private stuff. But living in their own house, I think it is more preferable to have your own stuff and be looked after.
Right. So I think living in your own home also has a lot of different advantages. Like, you feel at home really because you
Yeah.
are at home. You have been there for years. You have friends
You
to
have your
mingle with.
neighborhood.
You have your neighborhood. So you have your, long-term friends to live with, to
And
connect
these
with.
days everything is available on telephone.
Right.
You order and you get it.
Everything is
And then
coming.
you keep someone to look after you all the time. You are in your own house. Like you will be surprised when a long-standing patient, like paralytic patient, they stay in a hospital. Their recovery is slow, but when they get back to the house, their recovery is very fast.
Oh, interesting.
Definitely, you see when they are at home, hospital. Suppose like you, like me, if I'm working. I will only go to the hospital while I'm going to work. I'll go see my mother or see my father or whoever is sick, and then I'll say hello, whatever they need for a little while 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes.
Max, yeah.
I have to go back to my work.
Right.
Then again, evening I can go, or
Correct.
someone can come to the hospital to look. But when you are in the house, when you get up, children get up, your
Right.
grandchildren get up, they come and say, "How are you, Nana?
Ah.
Your half battle is over."
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So your people are there all the time with
All
you.
the time.
You are in the comforts of your
Correct.
home.
Yeah.
The environment is completely different.
Environment.
So you are saying that if you're living at your home, engaging with elderly caretakers
Yes.
is far more advisable than moving into old age
Yes,
homes.
yes. And you're more contented. You're you're comfortable. Everything is there.
Right.
Anytime. Now, old age home, there is a timing. If you want to have a cup of tea at 2 o'clock, you can't have it.
Okay.
But in your house, you
You can
have
have.
kept a helper for yourself. Though you're paying to the old age home also, you're paying to, but to her you can say, I want to have a cup of tea. She'll make and give it to you.
Right.
That's more better.
Right. Even in terms of economics, financially also, what's,
There's a lot of difference.
okay.
In 1,50,000 rupees, you give it to the old age home.
Okay.
It's not less, it's quite a lot of money.
My God.
Tier 2 people can afford it,
Right.
but not other people.
Not
Normal
everybody.
people cannot. They afford it because they know they'll get the rent of 2 floors.
Right.
And they get the rent, we are comfortable, no one is there to disturb us. But when you keep somebody in your own house, your expenditure is not so much.
Right. It's one third typically.
Yes,
You
it
would
is.
not be spending more than 50, 60,000 rupees,
No,
including your groceries and the helper
everything.
and everything. Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, quality of your life also increases.
I'm sure.
Quality of your life also increases.
Correct.
You see, when you must be sitting idle, but when you see one of your old friend coming, see the life.
Correct. Absolutely. Here you can catch up with your friends anytime, whenever you want to.
Anytime.
You can have a cup of
The
tea,
quality
coffee.
of life is definitely increases. I've seen.
Mhm.
I'm seeing every day old people.
Right.
There are a lot of old people with us.
Correct.
They're very happy.
Correct.
They're very happy.
Right. So what is the biggest satisfaction of being an elderly caregiver in this profession, in this career? What is the biggest satisfaction or happiness that you get?
It makes me more happy. You know, there are some people who feel all the time they're lying down and they keep looking at the roof once, twice, thrice. They don't talk to you easily because they are not acquainted with you. They're not comfortable. But after some time, they don't want to have bath. Their hygiene is very poor because they feel they're old. They cannot go to the toilet. They might fall down. They might break their bones. But once this is there, when I go after a week or so, when I see them pleasant, they ask, instead of my asking, they ask me, Mrs. Mukherjee, will you have it? cup of tea. I say, yes, not only tea, I'll have some snacks also with it. Because they are looking very happy to me.
Right.
So I feel very, very
So
happy.
seeing them happy gives
I
you
feel-
happiness.
gives me happiness.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
definitely.
I'm sure.
And they have a desire to live.
They have a desire to live.
They have desire. You see, death, whenever it comes, you have to. But when there is no one to look after you, it becomes a burden on you. Yeah, I can't have bath. I can't. There are men, they cannot shave.
Right.
Just see. And when I send the boy, I say, shave बहुत अच्छी से करना. अगर कुछ गड़बड़ हुई तो मैनेज करूँगी. अच्छा. And after 1 week, when I go to see them, you have everything is changed.
Right.
It gives me immense happiness.
I'm sure. And listening to you, I'm sure, all the viewers are getting inspired and motivated to, be a part of. Yes, absolutely, to be a part of this career.
Yeah.
Whosoever is looking at, picking
Now,
up.
there's mothers I will give you. Young mother, she goes to her office. She's leaving a child behind. There's someone to look after.
Right.
Now, earlier there were crutches, but the crutches were not looking after the babies properly.
Okay.
The mother gives the food, mother gives the clothes, everything. But yet she was not happy. The babies were not happy. But once mother gets back to the house in the evening, she sees her child happily. Isn't it? She can work better in the office.
Absolutely. She's at peace.
She gets peace.
Yes, she's completely at peace. She knows that my child is taken care of,
Yeah.
and he or she is really taken care of very, very
For
well.
whom is she earning?
Exactly.
For the baby.
Exactly.
And if her baby is looked after well, she's very happy. She's very
Absolutely.
contented.
Absolutely.
That's what I feel. So
I'm sure.
I feel very happy.
So at the end of the conversation, I would also like to know that I'm sure there must be some challenges that you have faced.
I do. I do.
Please share.
Like there are other people.
Right.
Why Mrs. Mukherjee?
Hmm.
Why not us?
Hmm.
Seeing me, there are other ladies also
Hmm.
who started. You see, it definitely goes with my status also. I shouldn't be saying that.
Okay.
First of all, I speak well.
Hmm.
My husband was in the army. I had a good social service. I knew a lot of people who could talk to me.
Correct.
But other people were not there. I was living in a big colony. I have an office in a better colony where people can come and just discuss their problem with
Right.
me, where other people are not.
Right.
So they do it with me, but it's okay. I said, okay, if somebody has to come to me, they will come to me.
They will come to you. They will come.
So
So, what are the challenges that you believe that one could face?
sometimes you see what happens, the other people start paying more money. Wages are more, which I'm not.
Okay.
So I lose my staff.
Okay.
But then again, I get back because my staff, I can train them better. When I provide better service, better staff, they come back.
Right. So, getting trained staff in this field, is it easy to get trained staff or?
The trained staff, in a sense, nurses are easy to get.
Nurses are easily
Easy,
available.
because they do 4 years diploma
Right.
and they come.
Correct.
But other staff is not well trained. Other staff you have to train. So which I can do it very well.
Okay.
I can do it since I was a nurse myself.
Correct.
That too with the Indian Army.
Right.
So
I think-
I can do better.
You had an added advantage that you were a professional.
Yes, I'm a professional myself.
Correct.
That
Absolutely.
is an added advantage.
So, when we talk of nurses, for nurses working in hospitals versus, elderly caregivers or
Right.
takers in private industry working with you, where are they compensated better? In hospitals or with you,
With private sector,
with private sector? In hospitals, they would get an average salary of
30,000.
30 to
27,000.
40,000.
No, 40,000, 25,000, 26,000, which is very less.
Very less.
Very less.
But with you, they end up making a lot more.
Oh, yes. The minimum nurse gets around not less than 50 to 60,000.
So I think for our viewers, I can also see that all the children who are looking at becoming nurses,
Yes,
this is another avenue for you to,
Definitely.
take off your career.
correct.
Because in hospitals, you may not be get that well paid, but here, you can expect a lot more salary.
Yes, lots.
Wonderful.
Lots.
Wonderful. Very, very nice.
Work is also very tiring. I won't say ki work is not tiring. The very tiring work, but they are paid well.
They're paid well.
They are paid.
It's worth.
It's work. It's work. And people are also good.
Right.
I won't say people who hire the nurses, they're very good. They look after them.
And if you talk about male nurses versus female nurses, do you get both of them available?
Yes.
Easily available?
Easily available, but female nurses get more work than the male nurses. You see, elderly people are like babies, I tell you. So the nurses, female nurses are more compassionate. They, by their love, affectionate, they can motivate them better.
Right.
For their hygiene, for their feeding purposes. Like elderly care people, they're very lazy. They don't want to get up. They'll make them get up. But whereas male nurses, once the male patient says, nahi jana baba ji, baith jao.
Okay.
But female nurse will
Chalo.
all the time. Ki nahi baba ji, chalo.
And I'm sure the families also feel comfortable with...
Very comfortable. The children are comfortable.
Right.
They can also, part and they feel
Correct.
she's part and parcel of us.
Family.
Yes.
Member of the
That is the reason they prefer more female
Right.
nurses.
Right. So, any last advice, final advice that you would like to give, to all the viewers of our channel?
I would say definitely, ki please join. This is one of the best service to the mankind, I feel.
Right.
Why? We've had enough of society.
Correct.
And this is your own career.
Correct.
Once you look after the people, you can look after your parents. Always think that they are your parents.
Right.
And you earn good amount of money.
Correct.
It's not bad that you do not have to think how my house will run.
Right.
It will be running very well. Their blessings are always with you.
The blessings are also there with you. Yeah. Apart from money, you're getting lots of blessings.
Which is very, very important.
Very, very important. Well said. Well said. Thank you so very much. Thanks for taking our time to speaking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.